Hi guys, welcome to the podcast, all the things. Today we are talking all about ADHD specifically, and answering a question that I get asked quite a lot, and that is why bother getting assessed if you are an adult like I am and you've managed this far? What is the point, basically? And is there any point? I want to very quickly start by saying that, by apologizing, I guess. I want to start by apologizing. So we're going to go on a little tangent, and then I'm going to talk about what I promised we'd talk about. I have I talked about this briefly on Instagram. I'm going to try and hold it together and not cry because it's not helpful. Um, Basically, why am I even sharing this? Sometimes in life you'll have stuff going on in the background that you can't really talk about, and you'll slap a smile on your face and you'll carry on and you'll still take your kids to school and go to work, and no one will know that you're going through some stuff. And it can feel very lonely and very isolating because you think everyone else is just fine. Why am I such a mess? Why is this stuff going on in my life and not other people's lives? And I'm sharing this because I know how lonely and isolating that can feel, and I think people don't talk about it. And the reason I'm feeling a bit messy, scatterbrained, is there's some stuff going on at the moment, and I don't want to be cryptic, even though I suppose I'm about to be cryptic. I don't want to be too cryptic, but basically, it's not stuff that I can really talk about right now, right here, and for that, I'm really sorry, because that's not super helpful to be like, "Hey, this is so good, I can't talk about it," and I know that's not really helpful, but the reason I'm sharing it is, number 1, if you're wondering, like, "Is Rhea okay? Because she looks a bit blotchy." I think the makeup has actually covered it pretty well, but, she looks a bit blotchy, and she just seems like she's spaced out and away with the fairies a little bit. It's because I am, okay? You're not imagining it. I'm not doing great, okay? But I cancelled the live a couple of weeks ago because I was ill, which I think that was strategies, to be honest. And that was really good for kind of respecting my own body, and we should all do that, and we should take breaks when we need to, and all the things that we're supposed to do. But equally, I hate letting people down. I hate not showing up for things I committed to doing. And that I said that I wanted to do this. I said I was going to come and do this and talk about this, and I've had people asking me this very question. I said I'd come here and answer it today, so I'm going to. I'm going to do that. But if you're struggling with something and you're not okay and you feel isolated and like you're the only one, you're not. I'm here to give you an internet hug via, maybe you're live, maybe you're one of these lovely people in the chat, Anne, Emma, Paige, Soph, Emma. Uh, thank you know, thank you for being so wonderful and so supportive. So you all mean the world to me, and thank you. Yeah. Oh, not intending to cry. Sorry. The reason I share it is because whenever I do come online and say, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't talk about it because it's cryptic," but because you just can't talk about everything online, can you? It's just not appropriate. But if there is something, whenever I say, "Hey, do you know what? Social media is not all that that people put out there," because normally you're just getting people's highlight reels. I always, without fail, get messages from people saying, "Thank you so much. I needed to hear that today." And I know when I get messages that I really need to hear when I'm feeling like this, how much that means to me. So uh, that's why I am now crying on the internet. Not the intention at all to cry on the internet. But that was my very convoluted rant about something totally unrelated to today's topic. So thank you for sitting through that. Apologies that I'm now a snotty mess. Um, so now we're going to go back to answering the question that I get asked a lot, and it's why bother getting assessed for ADHD at all? And luckily, past me, here's one I made earlier, made notes of what I'm supposed to say now. So hopefully the notes will trigger me. We're also going to try something super new. Let me know how you feel about this. And if I press this button, something amazing should happen. Hang on, ready? Okay, not that good because if I line that up, there we go. I can sit in this little box. Does that look good? No, not quite. Okay, hang on. While is the tech working with me? Is the tech in? Maybe. Look, is that better? I should have really set this up a lot better before. How's that? Hey, it looks almost not bad. If I move myself, which way? We move you? Tilt it that way? No, tilt it that way. This is why I can't do reverse parking because I can't figure out how to do things in a mirror. There you go. There you go. That's okay, isn't it? Does this look cool? Is this cool? Are we liking this? Okay. So why bother? We're now gonna like pretend that we didn't. We're just maybe I'll edit that bit out. Maybe for those of you that saw that live, that's the only. Maybe I can cut that out. Okay. Should we start again? Hi, welcome to my super upbeat live. We're going to answer this question: why bother getting assessed for ADHD? Anyway, we're just going to press a little button. This was me. Was this procrastinating when I should have been doing something else? Who knows? Who knows? But it's pretty. So who am I? If you're new around here and this is the first time you've ever met me, you're going to think I'm a right nutter. But my name's Rhiannon Morgan. Everyone calls me Rhi. I'm a mum of four. I have four neurodiverse children. They all have autism. I'm pretty sure two of them have ADHD. That's another story. Um, I work from home. I was diagnosed with ADHD at age 40. I had no idea for most of my life. And only, I think, like a lot of people, um, I I mean, I didn't know much about ADHD at all. I thought ADHD was, bouncing off the wall little boys. I thought it was that stereotypical thing. But it was after I learned a lot more about neurodiversity generally. And then there is a whole video, which hopefully later on I'll remember to link. Someone remind me to link it. Um, I had a chat with a friend of mine, Katie, from what Katie said, and I did take that. The quality of it's dreadful because I had to like screen record it from Instagram, but we did an Instagram live where she'd just been diagnosed and she went down through all the signs and symptoms, and it was eye opening because every single thing she said, I went, oh my goodness, I do that, or oh, I did that until I did this, oh, I did that until I put this strategy in place, and it was eye opening. Okay, why are so many adults asking, could this be me? I'm so glad I made these notes. Normally I have notes and they're just out of the way, but I don't know. Is this really distracting? Because I could turn it off if you'd rather just me talk. Um, if you're on the podcast, you won't be able to tell, but there's words on screen now. Okay, if you're watching the YouTube version, I'll link it. I'll hopefully remember to link it below in the podcast version. You can go and check it out. So, ADHD in women is wildly undiagnosed, largely because people like me, I was guilty of this, think of hyperactive little boys. They do not think of women being the sort of person to have ADHD. I didn't think that ADHD looked like me, and it does. So much of ADHD in women is internalized, so much of it is racing thoughts as opposed to bouncing off the walls. And I think a lot of it is motherhood does really, really shine a spotlight on us because we go from just sort of having to look after ourselves and cope with ourselves, and then suddenly there's all this extra pressure. And maybe we're looking at and I think for a lot of people, a lot of people, they learn more about specifically like they've got a kid that's maybe on the pathway for ADHD, and then they think, oh, actually, this could be me. For a lot of people, it's stuff they hear on the internet, and that does not mean. Can I just say at this point, that does not mean by any stretch that this like, oh, nobody had ADHD in my day. It's like, well, they did. You just didn't know. No one had autism in my day. Well, actually, they did. You just didn't know. And the most frustrating thing is often the people saying that. It's like, well, actually, I think you have it. There'll be, those elderly relatives, or it's like, actually, the person you're married to, yeah, screamingly obvious to me now. I know so much about it. But it could be that you're not imagining it. There is just so much more to manage. And it is possible you do actually have ADHD. And I mean, not you specifically. And obviously, I need to make this declaration. Can I just say right now, I'm not a doctor. And even if I was a doctor, I'm not your doctor. Just because, just because you see things on the internet, you think this could align with ADHD, it doesn't mean you definitely have it. This is sort of the point, really, that only an assessment can tell you that. And so many of the things, I get this a lot. I'm like, oh, that just sounds like motherhood. A lot of the symptoms do sound like, well, a lot of the symptoms sounded like motherhood to me, but is that just because I had ADHD? And Or does everyone feel like this? I don't know. I can only speak to my own experience. Anyway, so signs of ADHD can be, and these are just going to look and just have these up on screen now: emotional overwhelm, decision fatigue, procrastination, time blindness. I think we're supposed to say time. I don't think we're supposed to use time blindness anymore. I should have taken that actually. Time obliviousness, is that even a word? But apparently time blindness is can be offensive to the blind community. So apologies for that. Um, yeah. Having 500 tabs open mentally and digitally. Is that just motherhood? In some cases, yes. And in some of these things, you can have some of these things in certain areas of your life. And then when perhaps the stress and the pressure goes, if the symptoms are easing, then maybe it's not ADHD. But then do you want to wait and find out, or would you rather get assessed? This is what we're discussing today. Things like people pleasing, overthinking, underestimating your own worth, um, constantly analyzing and worrying about what you said to other people because your brain's going a million miles an hour. Another one I heard the other day, actually, which was new, was having a song stuck in your head is echolalia. As in, and I know everyone has a song stuck in their head sometimes, I guess, but that can't, like, when you just can't get songs out of your head, and it's like my head often sounds like multiple songs and scripts and all sorts of things all playing at once, and I can't shut it up. Apparently that's ADHD. Some people's brains, in fact, let me know in the comments. Apparently some people's brains, they don't actually have constant chatter inside of them. Some people can think about nothing, and not just the word nothing, but nothing. And that absolutely spun me out, because is that true? If that's so, what's that like? That must be bizarre. Anyway, I have got a free checklist. It's not a diagnostic document, although a lot of it is very similar to what they'll ask you in the ADHD assessment. If you are thinking, could this be me? I don't want to. I want to know a bit more about the signs. I have got that checklist for you. It's completely free. If you go to there, it's actually it's inside the freebies section of my membership at the moment. Hopefully, I'm going to put it in a proper like landing page and stuff, like a proper email capture page thing, and you'll just get it emailed to you. But for now, what you do is you can unlock it by joining my membership for free, which just means you just like, I think you can either use Gmail or whatever, or you can set up an email and pick up a password, and you get that. That's how it is at the moment. Maybe if you're watching this or listening to this in the future, there'll be a proper, like I will have, I will have fixed that out to do it properly. But at the moment, I thought that was the quickest way to get it to you. Okay, just gonna very quickly go to a couple of the comments. Look, what I should be able to do now is flip back and forth this. Hey, I can flip back and forth. Okay, just checking if I can do that. Okay, so a couple of your comments. Soph says, hope everything's okay and in the real life view. Yeah, the real life, it's such a there's such a blurred line between my real life and my online life. It's funny because like there's so much of it that I want to share and be really open, and it's just like all those lines you can't cross. Paige says, please don't apologize. You never have to share anything. Thank you. Soph likes my fancy words on screen, but Paige feels like she's in uni again. Is that a good thing or bad? I don't know. Would I like to be in uni again? I'd probably learn a bit more if I went back now. Soph says she got a diagnosis this past weekend with combined ADHD. I did the same with your videos. Oh, so Soph, you're watching my videos not along going, yeah, me. I thought everyone did that. Hang on, hold the phone. Does everyone not do that? Yeah, that was me. That was exactly. So Paige says, so she hopes Soph is okay after her diagnosis. It's quite a shock, isn't it? There's a lot of positive and negative feelings can come. I was okay with my ADHD diagnosis, but my autism diagnosis affected me more. Isn't that interesting how like some things can like hit you more than others? Totally. Good thing I learned better reading. Oh, there you go. There we go. She learns better reading. So are we liking these little things on screen? Are we liking them? Or are we feeling like it's like school? I just like all the pink personally. Right. So should you get assessed? Okay, let's get back. So we're going to walk through what's holding many of us back and why it might be still worth it and why it might not be worth it. Basically, we're going to go through a little decision-making criteria and some objections. So these are the ones I hear most frequently. I've managed this long, or you've managed this long. Why did you bother? Or I've managed this long, should be fine. So I'm so glad I've done this work in advance. I've got to say my brain's not braining. So you've managed this long, likely because you have been masking and masking and masking and masking. That's why you survived this long. Everyone's like, you don't have ADHD, you're really organized. Well, why do you think I have to like work so flipping hard to get organized? Why did I have to design my own planners just to find one I'd stick to? It's because my brain does not function like a lot of people's brains. Apparently, I can't just be like, I need to do a thing and then to just do it because for some reason my brain makes it harder than that. So you have managed, but at what cost? Like, how hard have you had to push to get there? Why has it been so hard? Should it be that hard? And should it have to be that hard? So you are strong, you have got through it because you're here, but how if you could do something to make it easier, would is that not worth doing? Is surviving the same as thriving? No, it's not. Okay, it's not. It's definitely not. You do deserve support and understanding, not just struggle. Then there's this one about labeling, which I get, but I feel like we've got to move away from it. Okay, and just about. Um, this isn't just an ADHD thing. This is the one that really gets to me with autism, and with everything. So labels. I said this was sort of what I was trying to explain to Dylan, who was a teenager and very much did not want his autism assessment. Okay. And if you watched the video where I did an interview with him, which was over on my podcast channel, which I don't really use that much, so I might post it on my main channel so that more of you can see it because it's unlikely to get shown otherwise. Um, Basically, he was like, "Oh, I just don't, I don't want it. I don't want it." And I said, "Look, I need you to have this assessment so that I know how I can best support you." And there is a whole different conversation, by the way, for the need. Is it more important for kids versus adults to get assessed? And perhaps if I can remember, remind me if I haven't talked about that because I don't think that's on my notes. But I that is a whole different conversation. Remind me to talk about that in the end. But what I said to him is, look, if we get this assessment and we know between you and me, yes, you have autism or no, you don't, then we don't have to you don't have to tattoo that on your forehead. If you don't want to tell anyone ever, you don't have to, but you'll have that understanding and I'll have that understanding to be able to parent you better and to be able to access your help if and when you need it. If, however, you don't have that label, then people are going to label you anyway. So I've always labeled myself ditzy. Um, I used to call myself lazy. I think I'm scared of stopping and slowing down in case I am lazy again, in case I fall into that, because I really felt like I did struggle so much. I did feel like I labeled myself lazy, certainly when I was younger, disorganized, messy, just all these labels that I gave to myself that weren't very kind. And people will you will label yourself, people label you. And this is obviously especially important with kids. So with children, I personally believe it is important for everyone to be able to understand their brains, but it's even more so important to understand if your children have needs because as your as their parent, you can then advocate for them and you can access them the help that they can't get for themselves, and you're able to parent them best and to access help and see when they're struggling in school and get them that help that you won't be able to get without that diagnosis. So for children, I would say it is even more important to get that label because, especially with children, if you've got a school or a teacher that is not very understanding, they might be labeled, if they've got ADHD, naughty, distracted. If they're a girl, just a daydreamer. So the like, I obviously boys could be daydreamers and girls could be bouncing off the walls. But I think the way it sort of happens more statistically is it is more statistically likely for the boys to be the bouncing off the walls, very presenting in a very fidgety, very outwardly energetic way. And for girls with ADHD to internalize it more and to mask more and to shove it in and for all the chaos to be more like inside their minds than to be outwardly obvious, which is why so many girls get just ignored and not assessed for autism, ADHD, or pretty much anything. And there's just a higher rate of boys being put forward because in a classroom setting, then if a boy is disruptive, if you like, obviously a girl could be disruptive, but if you've got a little boy that's disruptive or a little girl that's like a good girl and she's just quiet and she's a daydreamer, then which one is the teacher going to put forward? It's the one that's disrupting the class. That's the one that's going to be put forward for an assessment. So if you have got ADHD or autism or whatever, you're going to get labeled something anyway. And the zebra analogy that I heard was really good because if you are a zebra and you just like, why am I a weird horse? You're always going to feel like, well, why am I a weird horse? I'm trying to fit in with these horses, and I'm not the same. I feel different. I stand out. But actually, when you realize it's okay. I mean, are they all of like the horse family or whatever? Is there an overall category of animal that zebras and horses fall under? I don't know. Someone can probably tell me that. Maybe ChatGPT should tell me that before we started. But you may all have, your four hooves or whatever, but to know it's like I'm not a weird horse, I'm a zebra is actually quite liberating. It's quite it's quite nice. It's like, oh, I'm not weird. I'm not just broken. I'm not a failure. I this is just the way my brain's wired. The way I explain it to the kids sometimes is, everyone struggles with something. Um, and not that everyone with autism is good at maths, because obviously that's not true, but my kids are, and they don't struggle with that. So I just say, look, some people really struggle with maths, and you're just like, I just cannot understand how you struggle with maths. It's so straightforward. Whereas some people don't understand why you'd really, really struggle with a change of routine or struggle with queuing. But your particular set of struggles just happen to have this label. Some other struggles don't have helpful labels. Maybe other people might be shy or bad at maths or whatever, but they don't have a label that also comes with help that you can access necessarily for that. So I don't want to be labeled, or I don't label my kids. I hear that so much. And I feel like we need to get away from that because and in fact, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and she was saying that her um a relative of hers she was talking to about her kids, and one of them maybe needed a neurodiversity assessment. And apparently this relative had said, "Oh, you love your labels, don't you?" And she's like, "Oh, it's not about that. It's not about loving labels. It's just being able to understand people. It's just like doing personality quizzes or knowing your love language. If you know your love language, you know your partner's love language, then you know what they need in order to feel loved, and they can understand how you were trying to it's just understanding how we all work a little bit better, and I just personally feel that has so much value. I think the other point I kind of wanted to make, which I should have made earlier, was about and again, sort of coming back to labels, like, oh, we didn't know all this ADHD in my day, we never all this autism. Well, actually, you did. And the quote I really enjoyed about this, that really I felt explained it really well, was, well, look, Pluto wasn't, I can't remember when it was discovered. I should have written down the quote really, but Pluto wasn't discovered till whatever date, quite recent years, really, but we're pretty sure it was there all the time. And it's funny because so many people that I follow online, authors and content creators who talk about largely about business. So I'm thinking about business and about creativity and about growing YouTube channels and those kind of people, as well as like the business mindset space. So many of them have been diagnosed with ADHD recently. And I don't think it's because it's a trend, because why would you want to be diagnosed with something um, that ultimately, you know, you wouldn't want to pick it, would you? I would not want to like be so scatterbrained if I didn't have to. But it just shows that so many of those people in those really creative industries clearly just have that type of brain. So obviously you have your kind of superpowers that go with it. Yeah, so that's totally random and not related to that point, but right, this one is huge. Okay, this one is the what if it's all in my head? Like I don't want to get assessed. Whoops. I don't want to get assessed in case it's all in my head. How do we go back? Go back. Go back. Oh no, I've pressed the wrong button and I can't go back. Okay, let me fix this. Hang on. Let me fix this. There we go. I think I've done it again. I think we're back. Okay, hang on. Is that back? Is that back? Oh, it's all gone squiffy again now. See, it's gone all squiffy. Okay, technology isn't totally being my friend, or at least I'm not doing this perfectly, but right, okay. Is that better? There you go. Okay, what if it's all in my head? I think this is a really, really common one. Um, so many people don't want to go and get assessed in case they're making it up. And this was me. Well, I'm like, what if this is all in my head? I was so nervous when I went to the GP. I have got a full video where I kind of a whole like playlist of videos actually where I documented the whole experience and the whole journey just in case it would be helpful to anyone else. And the first time I went to the GP, I was all armed and ready for probably because I was so used to so many objections when fighting for my kids at autism assessments. And I was like, right, all ready I was ready for the GP to laugh me out of their office. I really was. Um, I'm just like, what if they're like, it's all in your head? You do need to remember no good doctor is going to laugh at you. But I was really worried about this. What if they're like, oh no? He actually just said to me, okay, what makes you think you have ADHD? Okay. And I literally, like a sentence later, he said to me, fill out this form and then bring it back. And then if it kind of tracks, you score enough, then we'll put you forward for an assessment. And I said the most ADHD aware thing you could have said was, well, I'm going to fill this in right here, right now, because if I do so much as put it down or take this home, you'll never see it again. So I'm literally like, have you got a pen? I'll do this now, this second, and give it straight back to you. And that's what I did. Which, like, if that's not ADHD, I don't know what is. Because genuinely, if I'd taken that home, I don't think he ever would have seen it again. So if your struggles are real, they are valid. You need to remember that. And to be honest, it's nice to just know, yes, it is or no, it isn't. And even if I'd had an assessment and it'd been like, no, no, you don't have ADHD, that too would have been just knowing one way or another would have been really valuable and helpful. Okay, so this is another really valid one, which is either I can't afford it or I can't wait that long. If you are in the part of the world where there does come a cost to this, then obviously that is a totally different situation for you. That's going to depend on your own financial situation. That is going to depend on so many different things. And if it's not something you can afford to do and you're in a part of the world where that, you have to choose between paying for this or paying for other bills, then that obviously is a huge consideration, and that's really hard and that's really difficult. In the UK, you can pay to go privately, or you can wait for a rather extensive waiting list on the NHS. But ultimately, I think so many people get put off by even putting their names on the waiting list because they're put off by the waiting list. But what I'd say to you, and I'd especially say this is valuable with small children who are likely to experience more change than you are as an adult. You're probably less likely to have dramatic changes in your symptoms or your difficulties compared to your children, because as children move through different ages, what they face in school is different, what's expected of them is different, and obviously they're growing and changing. So what I always say to parents who are umming and ahhing is get your kids' name down on the waiting list now. That is not making a decision to have them assessed. That's making a decision to get on the waiting list. And then once they're on the waiting list, you can make that decision when you get offered an appointment. Do you want to keep going with it? And by that point, you'll either be like, well, that was all in my head, like literally no concerns now. It was, something and nothing. Whatever it was, it's clearly not ADHD or autism, because those um, challenges would still be present and they're no longer present. In which case, you'd be like, no harm, no foul, pass, skip over us, go to the next person on the waiting list. But what might happen, especially with your children, is you might get to their turn to be seen and you might be like, wow, this is so much more prevalent and obvious now. And I'm so glad I put their name down when I did. That might be the case. So if you're umming and ahhing about what to do, make that appointment, go see your GP. If you're in the UK, get your name down the waiting list. If you're in England, now, if anyone is in England on the comments, then please let me know if you've done the right to choose thing. I know Katie, from what Katie said, who had her assessment, she lives in England and she was the one that originally I had that chat with, and went, kind of flagged it up with me. And in England at the time with her, the right to choose thing was so much quicker. And it was something where you go to the GP and you say, I would like to assert my right to choose. I think it's for autism and ADHD in England for adults. And you can be like, I have my right to choose. And they will then they'll refer you, and you can go sort of quite quickly in quite a streamlined way to be assessed through various pathways. I don't know tons about it. I should probably learn a bit more about it, but basically it's in England. If you just put ADHD England right to choose or autism England right to choose, then that should take you to the NHS website and give you the most up-to-date information. That's not what I was able to do because I live in Wales. I went through the standard system, and apparently since I've been assessed and diagnosed, the waiting list is so much longer. Okay, so let's see. Let's do a couple of comments and we'll move on. So Soph says that who's just had her assessment. I'm in the limbo stage with ADHD diagnosis at the moment. That's really hard. Big hugs. My uncle said, "You've managed this long. Why do you need treatment?" When I told him, wow, what a shocker that someone said that. We've why do people say these things? Why? Yeah, honestly. It's just so common. It's so common. Paige says, I've had all the comments too, but the point is we haven't managed and it's helpful to know more about ourselves and give ourselves grace. Totally. Exactly. Exactly. Emma says, interesting conversation. As we choose not to pursue an autism diagnosis, always have an open mind to other opinions and thoughts. So says, I've labeled myself lazy and unmotivated and self-destructive. I've done all the same. And now I feel like there's actually reason. It's actually quite liberating. And then we've got, have you got an evening routine? What are you doing a day coming up? And I've got I tell you what I have got is a summer morning routine coming up on Thursday though. And then I'll be doing a back to school morning routine closer to the time. Oh, there you go. Soph did Right to Choose. Mine took about a year to get an assessment date on Right to Choose, but I think it's increased. Okay. Interesting. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, so what getting assessed actually gave me permission to stop fighting myself is huge, and actually just to give myself a bit of grace. Systems that work for my brain. Ultimately, you can then think, okay, so I do have ADHD, so you can look for kind of ADHD challenges and therefore what the solutions might be, and you can just tailor your systems and solutions to your actual brain, which I think is really valuable. Relief, compassion, and better boundaries are huge. You learn about how exhausting it is to mask, I guess, and there is a little bit of unmasking. I think when you get a diagnosis and you just sort of can be a little bit more yourself, a bit like, well, I'm not just scatty. This is who I am, and you can just be a bit more authentically you. I do find that some of the guilt melted away the more I understood. That is absolutely true. So if you have neurodivergent kids, I honestly think that normalizing assessments really helps them. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that if you have neurodivergent kids and you don't think you have autism or ADHD, you should go and get assessed because that's not going to help anyone. But I honestly felt that when I made the decision to go and find out if this is how my brain works, to find out if like we're all plugs, all our brains conduct. Am I a UK plug or am I a US plug? And then I know, if I need an adapter to be in certain situations just in order to function. I think that analogy helps me. But I think it was quite helpful for me to think, well, whatever I say, whatever comes out of this, whether I do have ADHD or I don't have ADHD, I can say to my children, if they ever ask in the future, because Dylan, bless him, was like, why are you doing this to me and making me have an assessment? He doesn't feel like that anymore. If you watch that extensive interview, which I should probably actually share again, if you watch that interview, then you will see that he doesn't feel like that anymore. But at the time, he was quite cross with me, and I just had to do what I felt was best as his parent, even though that wasn't what he wanted at the time. It was what I felt was best in the long run. I'm really glad he agrees with me now. But ultimately, if the others had been like, "Oh, why did you get me assessed anyway?" I could be like, "Well, I had an assessment. That's just what we do." And I think that so much of this normalizing, um, not that it's a mental health issue exactly. So I'm a bit foggy. Apologies if this like comes out slightly wrong, but my dream and my hope for the children's future is that our mental health and our kind of hidden challenges are not, it's normalized to look after those as much as it is our physical ailments. You wouldn't say to a person with diabetes, just try harder to, you'd be like, here's some insulin. Um, you wouldn't be like, oh, you've broken your leg, just, you want to try harder at walking. You'd help that person with what they need. And my hope is if my children ever have any challenges when they're older or now or when they're older, whenever, if they are feeling that they are suffering with their mental health, they're feeling depressed, they're feeling anxious, that they're able to access help for that without any stigma. And I feel that this is not exactly the same as that because obviously this is just understanding how your brain is wired rather than anything sort of mental health specific. I feel that if we can just normalize talking about these things, then my hope is that might save lives in the future. If we can normalize these conversations, there might be some people that access mental help mental health help, good grief, and that actually saves their lives. Um, so I do feel that by saying, "Well, do you know what? I went for assessment. It's co yes, it turns out I was diagnosed, but even if I hadn't been, I think there's value in saying I went to get that checked out because that's what we do." I hope that made sense. Modeling self-awareness and acceptance and taking good hair. Oh, good grief, guys, should I have just cancelled this because my words are not wording. Um, Modeling self-awareness and acceptance because if we model for our children how we take care of ourselves, then when they're older, then hopefully they will do the same for themselves. If we model only taking care of other people, then that's what they'll grow up to do. And that's not what I want for my kids. I want them to be able to take care of themselves as well as their own families. Um, Being able to advocate from a place of lived experience is real. I now have learnt so much about ADHD in women, still so much to learn. Not pretending to be some sort of professor or anything, but still, I've learnt so much that I can now recognise so much of me and my ADHD specific behaviours and struggles in Zara. So I'm in the process of pursuing an assessment for her. Um, and breaking the cycle of shame and silence is massive. So the big question is it worth it? Only you can decide this. For me, it was absolutely worth it. It was 1,000,000% worth it. And even if they'd said, no, you don't have ADHD, I would still have valued having that answer and knowing and not second guessing myself and going round and round in circles. And I felt the same about my kids' autism assessments, really, that there was so much value in just stop second guessing myself and just having the answer. It's not about making changes to people or fixing people. It's just understanding, right? So these are your challenges. If like I wear prescription glasses for driving, they're not, it's not so debilitating that I wouldn't be able to drive. I'm not below some sort of legal limit where I wouldn't be able to drive without glasses. But by putting those glasses on, largely sunglasses, actually, I mostly drive with sunglasses. If it's not actually night or foggy, you'll see me wearing sunglasses rather than normal glasses. But wearing those helps me see that little bit better. It just makes my life that bit easier. It stops me getting headaches. It makes such a massive difference to my life. Now, it's not that I wouldn't be able to cope without those glasses. I would manage. It's not that I'm totally unable to see without them, but it really, really helps me to have them. It makes a huge difference to my life. And just silly things like not getting headaches. So having the understanding for, yes, I've got ADHD and therefore these are the things that I'm going to struggle with. These are the pitfalls I'm going to avoid. These are the things that are going to help me. It's been huge. It's understanding how you work and how to be kind to that version of yourself. Is that the end? Oh, there we go. Right. No, it's not. There we go. So I've got my free checklist. If you go to mummyoffour.com/100 ADHD, that currently takes you, like I say, directly into the freebie section of my club. I've got my Organised Life Club, which if you join my Organised Life Club, you go to mummyoffour.com/OLC. I've actually got a code. If you are watching or listening to this live, let's see if I can find this. Hang on. It's all flipping disappeared now, hasn't it? Hang on, it's gone all funny and squiffy. Hang on. If you go to, I'm probably going to have to get someone to type this in the chat, or maybe I'll type this in chat myself. If you go to, and you would like to join the Organised Life Club, I've got a code for you for the month of July 2025. If you listen to this in the future, apologies. But during the month of July, you can have 30% off either your first month or your first year using code July YT, like YouTube 30. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can write that in the comments actually. Hang on. Use code July YouTube 30 for 30% off your first month or year inside the OLC. I'm going to put mummyoffour.com/join. Oh, for goodness sake, autocorrect. Apologies, guys. Four.com/join. There we go. There you go. I've put that in the chat if anyone needs that. So, if you would like to join the Organised Life Club, there we go. We're back with the words on screen. If you go to mummyoffour.com/OLC and use code, what did I say it was? July YT, like YouTube, 30, and that's 30% off your first month or first year, whichever you choose to go for. Now I have got inside of there, so obviously that there's that freebie with all the signs of ADHD and things. That's completely free. But if you would like to join the club, um, it's just such a lovely, supportive place full of wonderful, wonderful humans who are mostly parenting in neurodiverse families. Not everybody's a parent, not everyone is parenting in a neurodiverse family, but most of them are. And inside of there, we do a monthly planning party where we plan for the month ahead. So you get printables and we go through that process together. There's routine resources, which is just a selection of workshops and printables. So there's a routine assessment workshop where you go through the workbook together and assess, right, which areas of my life do I want to sort out, which areas of my life are really going to move the needle if I work on fixing the routines and tweaking the routines in those areas. We've got the mealtime routine workshop, which is especially catered for neurodiverse families, fussy eaters, just making everything go smoother. So ultimately, sometimes if the routine element needs tweaking, the fussy eating will actually fall into line a little bit more. Maybe the routine is working out quite well. The fussy eating needs a bit of help. Maybe you need help with meal planning. That mealtime routine workshop covers it all. We've also got the no, that's coming up. The the summer holiday planning workshop and planners. They are all inside of there. There are kids versions and adults versions of the summer holiday planners. So you can plan out your whole summer, from everything from all the fun stuff you want to do with your kids to childcare to routines, just everything you need to do. And I'm currently working on the back to school planner. So that will be a back to school planning workshop. I've currently got scheduled in for the 15th of August, but I might move that to a week before because I know Scotland people go back to school a lot sooner. So would that be helpful to do sooner rather than later? And if everyone's doing back to school shopping and things, and that's going to take you through everything you need to do to really get ready for the next school year, to make sure you've got everything you and your kids need. Also saving money, saving your sanity, and just all the things. Yeah, so come and join me inside the Organised Life Club. That would be amazing. And there we go. Let's see if I can flip this back. There we go. Oh, and that's just me again now. Look. Now, yeah, can I put that up? Let's see what I can do. I've also got, what else have I got from you? I've got this Calm Start guide. This is another thing that's really going to help you. Look at this. This is going across the bottom of the screen now, if that's working properly. If you go to mummyoffour.com/routine, I will send you my Calm Start guide, and that will help you if you are struggling with morning routines. Specifically, there's printables in there for kids, for mornings, for morning checklists, for kids, for school mornings, school weekend mornings, some mornings, all the things. So hopefully that will be super, super helpful for you. So that's mummyoffour.com/routine. Let's see what else I've got in here. Look, can you tell I've been playing with graphics and things. There we go. And this one should just be that. Oh, there we go. That's how to join my Organised Life Club. It would be lovely to have you in there. There is a forever free tier to get you started. But yeah, if you just put in code July YT30, you get 30% off your first month or your first year. Now there is the also that may be helpful for some of you, there's the autism journey journal in there. You could utilize that towards if your kids are being assessed for ADHD, but I think I might be putting together a specific ADHD one if that's something that people will be interested in. But if your kids are on the pathway for autism, all the support you need to help get through that is in the autism journey journal. And again, I think I'm going to be doing a workshop coming up for that to just support parents on that journey. Just a one stop, it'll be about an hour long, and we'll be doing that, going through that together. If you show up for the live version of the workshop, you'll be able to ask questions. For everyone else, it'll be available on replay, either just inside the club or also on the secret podcast, because sometimes it's nice to be able to just listen to these things, so you don't necessarily need the visuals. And that will hopefully answer all the questions that you have if your kids are on the pathway for being assessed for autism. So I'm just wondering, are there any other questions I need to get to? So there we go. So we've got my daughter's currently going through the autism assessment, and it's making me question myself more and more. She's a mini me. Yeah, I think that happens with so many people. My mum has passed away, though, so I worry I wouldn't have an advocate. Okay, so do you mean you'd worry about, because they do like you in an ADHD assessment to be able to bring someone from your childhood to answer questions about how you were as a child. They do prefer that where possible. I don't have anyone that was able to do that for me. I told them I didn't have anyone available to do that for me, and they were like, "Well, fine." Because I had the same concern that I wasn't going to be able to have someone to bring with me, but they were fine with that. So hopefully they will be fine for you too. I guess the one that I really, if you are thinking about ADHD, if you go to mummy4.com/100 ADHD, then that is that free printable, the 100 signs of ADHD in women. And to just go through that and be like, actually, this sounds more and more like me, or maybe that doesn't actually sound like me. Maybe, maybe just take a look at that and just let me know what you think actually. Download it. Let me know how many of those resonate with you, how many do not. It's a good place to kind of record any signs and symptoms you see. So when you do go and see healthcare professionals, you've got a little bit of evidence to share with them, a little bit of, hey, look, this is what I found, and you don't get all tongue tied and like, oh, on the when you're in that appointment, and I think we've all been there. I definitely have when I haven't gone in with notes and things for my kids' autism assessments, where I've gone in and I've come out and I thought, oh God, I should have said this, should have said that, should have said that. Hopefully, having this document, which is completely free printable, will help you gather your thoughts and be able to advocate for yourself a lot better. Oh, there you go. Paige said that her partner answered all the questions for that portion. That was through the Right to Choose, and it was a Zoom assessment. Oh gosh, okay, a Zoom assessment. I was so interested to hear actually. I really need to have a chat with some people who've had kids assessed for ADHD, because the adult ADHD assessment was so different to the autism assessments, which are the only ones I've seen. The kids' autism ones are more like, now we'll look at a book, and then we're going to mime cleaning our teeth, and then there was something in the car under a blanket. There was a lot of stuff going on. Whereas my adult ADHD assessment was basically questions and answers. It was a conversation. How much they were then observing me during there were sort of two main portions. The mental health bit, which I understood at the time was more to rule out other things, but maybe they were assessing me a lot more in that. But the questionnaire for the main assessment, she literally gave me a pen and paper and was like, fill this out, please. And she only wanted to talk to me about the last page, which I thought was quite bizarre. But I have got, say, a full vlog where I went through that all in detail. So sad. I went through the questionnaire with my partner. He was like, all of this is you. Yeah, that's such a familiar story. Really, a very, very familiar story. I would like to apologize once more for not intending to start crying at the beginning of this. Um, I just kind of really want to share that in case that speaks to anyone today, because if anyone needs to hear that, then I know how much those things mean to me when I really need to hear them. So if anyone's really struggling with, if you weren't here at the beginning, by the way, just tuning in now, I just had a little mini meltdown about some stuff going on in my life, and I'm just reminding everyone that just because everyone on social media is all smiling and everything looks perfect, or you see people at the school gate and everything looks fine, maybe they're just smiling through some pain too. And you're not the only one. You're definitely not the only one. So if anyone else is feeling like I am today, big hugs. And thank you so much for everyone that's joined me for this chat. Hopefully it has helped people get a little bit of clarity. If this doesn't sound like you at all, then hopefully it's just given you some understanding for some other people in your life that might be going through this. Maybe if you are the person who is thinking about getting assessed or has been assessed recently, and you've got people in your life that just don't get it, maybe send this to them and just say, look, please watch/listen to this. And then hopefully that will be healing for you when they can have that understanding. Oh, Soph says she's going to join OLC on her lunch. I'm excited. I can't wait to have you in there, Soph. Like, so excited. So excited. We've got so much stuff coming up. So excited. So we've got the back to school planners coming. We've got our planning party for August is really soon, like really, really soon, because we're going on our cruise in like 15 days, and it's before we go, because obviously the very end of the month I'm not actually physically here, so we're doing the planning party for August a little bit early. So excited for that. Paige says, my daughter's gone back to school after being home educated, so this video was a welcome distraction. Thank you. Oh, well, big hugs. That must be really hard for you if you're having a really quiet house and used to her being there. So I hope her time back to school has gone well. Okay, Thank you, you wonderful humans, for hanging out with me. I will put another video on screen for you to click on if you're watching on YouTube. Rate, review, subscribe if you're listening on the podcast. Join me inside of the Organised Life Club. I would love, love, love to have you. And I'll see you, you wonderful people, very soon. Bye, guys.